Okay, so let's take a look at Kalshi. This is the betting lines. Okay, so and they do everything. So sports, culture, crypto, but they also do politics. So I want to take a look at what they're saying about some of these Senate races. And so what I want to do is I want to look at some of these states that are toss-ups, and then I also want to look at some of the states that are leaning for the Democrats or leaning for the Republicans. So when it comes to Georgia, you see here, Democratic Party, 74%. So Ossoff, according to Kalshi, Ossoff has a really good chance of winning. Now, looking at some of the other states, Maine, this is another one that we've been watching really closely. Look what's going on here. So you have Susan Collins, who's the incumbent, but you have the Democratic Party. It's showing 58%. So Democrats have a really good chance of winning, according to Kalshi. They have a really good chance of winning in Maine, and that would change things. That would mean that Democrats would be able to gain a seat. Now, they need to gain something like, 4 seats in order to win back the majority, and I'll show you the map so you can see that in a second. But if they can flip a couple of Republican seats in 2026, then they have a much better chance of taking back the Senate in 2028. And so looking at Iowa, so Iowa's it's not leaning. It's likely that a Republican will win. Right now it says Republicans at 70%. We'll have to see if that changes in the future. North Carolina, there's no odds on North Carolina right now. North Carolina, I think Democrats have a good opportunity to win in North Carolina. And the main reason for that is because it's going to be an open seat. Okay, looking at some of the other states here, Michigan, I think we kind of know how that's going to go. Democrats, 78%. And Alaska, we kind of also know how that's going to go as of right now. Now, this can change, okay? And this will change. I won't say can. This will change in the future. We know that. But just looking at the odds right now, Republicans, 79% chance of winning in Alaska. Ohio, Republicans, 65% chance of winning. Even though you have Sherrod Brown running on the Democratic ticket, it looks like Republicans still have an advantage right now. At least that's where people are putting their money. Senate race in Florida, look at that, 90%. So Republicans should be able to maintain Florida. Now, what I want to do, and this is 270 to win, what I want to do is I want to show you the map. So this is the Senate map right here. And we see some of the states. So the blue, that's Democrats, the red, that's Republican. And when we're looking at some of the states that we looked at, and this is Kalshi, okay? So they're using the same metric here. They're just putting all this information on a map. So Kalshi has Georgia going to Democrats. It has North Carolina going to Democrat. And then it has Maine going to a Democrat. And then Michigan going to a Democrat. So right now, we're showing Democrats at 49, Republicans at 51. And so the current makeup in the Senate right now is you have Republicans have 53 seats, and then Democrats and independents, that's totals 47. So that is what we're currently looking at. What Kalshi is saying is that it looks like Democrats will be able to gain a couple of seats. They'll gain a seat in Maine, and they'll gain a seat in North Carolina. Now, some of these other seats that we're looking at, we're going to be watching very closely. One is going to be Iowa. Not that Democrats have a really good chance of winning Iowa, but because it's an open seat, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know who the candidates will be because Senator Ernst is not running for re-election. She is retiring. And because she's retiring, now we have an open seat. So you could get a candidate in there that's just not a good fit, just not a good candidate to run on the Republican ticket. As well as on the Democratic ticket, you can get a candidate that's not a good candidate to run on the Democratic ticket. But Republicans have more to lose in this situation because they have the seat. They currently hold the seat. And so we'll have to see what happens. But if we look at a scenario, and it's possible, okay? If we look at a scenario, right now I said Democrats at 49, Republicans at 51. If we look at a scenario where, let's say, Iowa goes to a Democrat, and it goes to a Democrat, and one of the things we need to think about too is farmers. How are farmers going to vote in this midterm election? Because some of these farmers are struggling right now. And sure, there's going to be some bailouts that will come out to help them, but bailouts aren't the fix-all. What these farmers want is they want customers. And so we could see a backlash when it comes to Trump policies. Some of these farmers could say, you know what? We're going to go, we want Democrats to control the Senate. We want Democrats to control the House because maybe they can roll back the tariffs. Because remember, Congress, that's their job. Congress's job is to implement these tariffs. What we're seeing right now is we're seeing the president put out executive orders and say this is a state of emergency. That's why we're issuing out all these tariffs. And so if that changes, And it could change before that, actually, because we have an appellate court that has already ruled that what President Trump is doing is he's just saying that things are an emergency when they're really not an emergency. Now, this will go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will have to rule on this. And so we could see tariffs wiped away before this. But if it gets to the point where it doesn't get wiped away, let's say the Supreme Court comes down and they say, no, the president has every authority to do what he's doing, then the president will continue to do this. And I think you will see some backlash from some of these states, some of these red states that have a lot of farmers there that are, they could be facing bankruptcy. So we'll have to see what happens there. But let's just say Democrats are able to win in Iowa. If they win in Iowa, now what are we looking at? Democrats at 50, Republicans at 50. But Republicans will still have the majority. The reason why they'll still have the majority is because of the vice president. The vice president will come in and break the tie. And so that will mean that Republicans still have control of the Senate. So what Democrats need to do is they need to win one more seat. Okay. And the only real seat that I could see them, actually, there's two seats out there that they have a possibility of winning. And one would be in Ohio. You have Sherrod Brown running, and Sherrod Brown has won in Iowa before, so he has an opportunity to win. So if he wins that seat, now you're looking at 51, Democrats at 51, Republicans would be at 49, and guess what? Democrats would have control of the Senate. Now, let's say that Democrats aren't able to win in Iowa. They have another option here. And that's in Nebraska, believe it or not, another state where you have a lot of farming. And currently right now you have an independent that's doing really well in Nebraska.
The U.S. Senate is a bunch of millionaires controlled by billionaires. My opponent, Deb Fischer, is part of the problem. She's taken so much corporate cash, she should wear patches, like NASCAR. She's gotten 10 times richer in the Senate. She hasn't held a public town hall since 2017. She promised to cut the deficit. She lied. She signed a 2-term pledge. Lied about term limits too. Deb lies. We just get stuck with the bill. Thanks, Deb. More of our money wasted. I'm Dan Osborne, an industrial mechanic who's actually worked for a living. A Navy vet, Nebraskan, independent. You're going to hear a lot about me from Deb's donors. The truth is, I'm running for U.S. Senate because people aren't getting a fair shake. Costs are too high, border's a mess. People like Deb waste our tax dollars on handouts to billionaires and corporations. If you want someone who works for them, vote for Deb. If you want someone who works for you, consider me. I'm Dan Osborne. I approve this message because the only thing on the back of my jacket is Nebraska.
Could that independent win in Nebraska and caucus with the Democrats, giving the Democrats an advantage, so giving them 51 to 49? And so we could see that as well. So Democrats do have some options, but I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes to the Senate, it's going to be very, very hard for Democrats to take control of the Senate. That's just a fact. When it comes to the House, Democrats have more of an opportunity to take back the House. And if you just look at history, generally that party that's not in power takes back the House in a midterm election. So Democrats do have an advantage when it comes to the House. And when you're looking at the generic ballot polling, it's showing that Democrats do have that advantage, and it's around 2.8% to 3% right now. And so I just wanted to bring this to you, and we're going to look at some of the different pollsters, and I'll show you the map, and we'll kind of go over the Senate. We'll go over the House as well. We're going to continue to do these videos because I think we need to start talking about it now when it comes to the midterm elections. Plus, we have some special elections coming up. We have mayoral races coming up. We have propositions coming up. Prop 50 will be coming up in California, the redistricting. And so there's a lot to talk about this year for the midterm election next year. So if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.